The film begins and is set in the United States. At that time, chaos overwhelmed the authorities, as they were confronted with a zombie outbreak. 2 months later, after the zombies had devastated the country, a young man named Columbus was shown to have survived an attack. Columbus was searching for other survivors. While on his search, he was pursued by zombies, which forced him to defend himself with his available weapon. After this incident, Columbus realized that the city was no longer safe and that few had survived. Nevertheless, he continued his search until he encountered a car approaching him. Concerned, Columbus hid, but soon a man emerged from the vehicle. An unplanned physical altercation occurred between Columbus and the man, after which Columbus requested a ride. Fortunately, the man agreed to give Columbus a ride. During their journey, they introduced themselves. The man's name was Tallahassee. Both then sought shelter and other survivors. Along the way, they noticed a truck that typically carried food supplies. They inspected its interior, but found food that did not meet their expectations, so they continued on their journey. During the trip, Columbus recounted an incident at his apartment. One day, a woman forcibly entered and pleaded for help. Unaware of the true circumstances, Columbus allowed her to stay overnight. However, when he awoke, she had transformed into a zombie and attacked him. In a state of panic, Columbus defended himself until the threat was neutralized. Subsequently, Columbus and Tallahassee continued to search for shelter and survivors. Later, Tallahassee desired to obtain his favorite food, so they stopped at a market. Before entering, they prepared their weapons for protection. Once inside, Tallahassee attempted to attract the attention of nearby zombies by playing his guitar. As the zombies approached, he acted swiftly to neutralize them, demonstrating considerable skill in combat, a skill he had developed in his past. Unexpectedly, a woman named Wichita approached them. She requested their assistance and led them to a storage area within the market. Wichita explained that her sister, Little Rock, had been bitten by a zombie, and although she had considered taking drastic measures, she lacked a weapon. As Tallahassee began to act, Wichita intervened by saying, "Let me handle this." Taking control of the situation, she pointed the weapon at Tallahassee to reclaim control over the vehicle and their arms. She also clarified that the reports regarding her sister's bite were just a trick, and that now Tallahassee has not obtained the food he desired and has lost his vehicle and weapons. Wichita and Little Rock then proceeded to Pacific Playland, a large amusement park in California, fulfilling Wichita's lifelong promise to take her sister there. Meanwhile, Columbus and Tallahassee, while on the move, unexpectedly received a surprise. They were fortunate to acquire a spacious replacement vehicle, along with the available weapons inside. The vehicle they obtained was fully fueled, and Tallahassee planned to follow 2 women who had taken his preferred car and arms. During the journey, Columbus and Tallahassee spotted the car parked in the middle of the road. Tallahassee approached to inspect it but found no one there and assumed it had been abandoned. As he returned to the vehicle with Columbus, Little Rock suddenly surprised him by reclaiming the car and the weapons they possessed, despite having previously restrained Columbus. However, Columbus and Tallahassee were somewhat relieved when Wichita allowed them to remain in the car, although she took full control of the vehicle. Reluctantly, they had to follow Wichita as she intended to visit the amusement park Pacific Playland to please her younger sister, fulfilling a lifelong promise to take her there. Along the way, Columbus received news that his hometown and family had been completely wiped out by zombies, leaving those remaining as essentially orphans. It also appeared that Columbus had developed an affection for Wichita. They then stopped at a shop offering various items to see what they could take. Inside, they conversed briefly. Observing some bottles of perfume, Columbus planned to use them to win Wichita's affection, a plan that Tallahassee, drawing on his considerable experience in courting women, supported. Before departing, they caused significant damage to the shop, an action they regarded as a means of relieving stress. They continued on a long journey, alternating drivers to rest, which made it clear how exhausted they were. Eventually, they arrived in California. Uncertain of the exact location of Pacific Playland, they quickly retrieved a map found along the roadside, and then promptly drove away from the zombies. Tallahassee then led them to a luxurious house owned by a famous director named Bill Murray. Because the house was so vast, they decided to split up. Columbus and Little Rock discovered a home theater and began watching a series, while Tallahassee and Wichita played golf on the expansive grounds. Suddenly, someone, seemingly startled by the noise in the house, approached them in what appeared to be a zombie costume. Wichita reacted by striking the individual, only to realize that it was Bill Murray himself. He had dressed as a zombie to blend in with his surroundings. Tallahassee was both delighted and incredulous to see someone he greatly admired right before him. Columbus then devised a plan to win Little Rock's affection first, before pursuing Wichita. Meanwhile, Bill, Tallahassee, and Wichita, who were searching for Columbus, intended to startle him with Bill's zombie disguise. When Bill approached them, Columbus quickly shot him in the abdomen. Not fully understanding what had happened, Columbus deeply regretted having shot Bill Murray. They then paid their final respects to Bill with a series of gunshots as they disposed of his body. Tallahassee now teaches Little Rock the proper way to aim, by first relaxing and taking a slow breath before shooting. At that moment, Columbus and Wichita are in a room toasting. During their conversation, upon hearing that Columbus had little experience with relationships, Wichita forms a positive first impression of him. Just as their conversation continues, they are interrupted by Tallahassee, who requests assistance in moving a sofa. Later, while the others are asleep, Wichita and Little Rock depart with the available supplies. Determined, Wichita takes her younger sister to Pacific Playland. Upon arriving at the location, Wichita immediately goes to the control center to activate the attraction's machinery. Little Rock is visibly delighted, though they remain unaware that the noise from the machinery has attracted zombies to the area. After spotting the approaching zombies, they all run to escape, firing at the creatures to slow their advance. Columbus, having developed feelings for Wichita, plans to follow her to Pacific Playland. Meanwhile, Tallahassee initially opts to go to Mexico and leave Columbus behind. However, realizing that Columbus struggles with riding a motorcycle, Tallahassee changes his mind and decides to accompany him in order to help him reach the object of his affection. Wichita and Little Rock then attempt to ride the drop tower attraction. Instead of seeking thrills, they use the ride as a temporary refuge. However, as the attraction gradually descends due to its design, they become increasingly fearful, knowing that a horde of zombies awaits them below. During the descent, Little Rock tries to shoot the control center to cause a malfunction and bring the ride to a stop. Columbus and Tallahassee arrive at the location, finding that Wichita and Little Rock truly need their help. Tallahassee creates a loud noise to lure the zombies away, creating space for Columbus to rescue them. Demonstrating impressive skill in eliminating the zombies, as if he were casually engaging with them, he boards the roller coaster to confront the pursuing creatures. He then enters a room where he secures the area by allowing himself to be momentarily surrounded. Once the zombies have gathered, he fires upon all of them. Meanwhile, Columbus, in his effort to rescue Wichita and Little Rock, is confronted by a clown zombie, triggering his known fear of clowns. Determined to be a hero for the object of his affection, Columbus quickly retrieves a hammer from a nearby attraction to combat the clown zombie. After successfully defeating it, he hastens to rescue Wichita and Little Rock, who remain trapped on the drop tower ride. Having overcome the zombies, Tallahassee notices a food store in the distance and immediately checks it out, intending to find his favorite food. However, his preferred food has already been destroyed when Columbus, reacting reflexively to a noise resembling that of a rat, discharged his weapon. When they see Wichita departing in a car, Columbus and Tallahassee immediately attempt to chase after her. Then, Little Rock tosses the food, which happens to be Tallahassee's favorite, that she had acquired, much to Tallahassee's delight. Ultimately, they decide to continue their journey together, and the film concludes. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.